Bang him!
All right, fellas, welcome in. It is the first episode of the upcoming season of Adam Silver's House of Gold. This is the Pot of Gold. I am your host, Maxwell Gosling. I'm rolling solo on this one tonight, mostly because there's just a lot of shit to get through, and it's more about recapping, ending our season last year, which we crowned a new champion. So first and foremost, I wanted to congratulate the Poppy Blanco on what was an amazing season. He knocked me out of the championship. So, fuck you, but also like congratulations. 248 to 214 was the final in the championship game in the ASHOG finals. Final four included perennial champion, two-time champion Zanman, and Eric and his team, which I ushered out in the final four. So great ending to the season for Jeff, not so much for me. And yeah, in the toilet bowl, we had Ferguson taking home that dubious honor as well. So really what I wanted to get into was, first of all, congratulating our champ. He has the ring, which I believe he texted out to the thread. We also opened up a number of new awards this season, which I'm super excited about. So obviously championship gets the big majority of the pot. The runner-up gets a chunk. That's me. Toilet bowl, Ferguson gets a nice little chunk. And then we had rookie of the year, GM of the year, coach of the year, and the sixth man of the year. So the sixth man of the year was just something that is another little bonus, $25 a pop for each of these. You guys probably saw some Venmos pop in from me for $25, or in the other cases of the championship runner-up toilet bowl is a little bit more than that, but quite a bit more than that in most cases. The sixth man of the year, Malcolm Brogdon, we just are mirroring the NBA. So that one went to Labicus. Congrats to you on that, Labicus, on a sixth man of the year. I know you must be just over the moon about that. Coach of the year was actually Zan, and this one was actually really close. And the tracking on this was really actually a lot of fun. I tracked net best picks on the season, as well as overall efficiency as percentage. So when we get those efficiency numbers, looking at that, and it was a really, really close call. So what I did was I put together total net best picks, highest efficiency, high points, and average efficiency. And each of those was a category. So the total best net picks, this is pretty incredible. Neil actually had the most. That was 42 net best picks. He had a pretty long streak. A couple reds where he was in the negative on best picks. Zan, different. He had one negative net the whole season. And that was, what was this, week 19. He was a -1 that week. The rest of the season, he was in the green or neutral. No one else did that. He had 41 net best picks, that being said, because he had more zeros in there, more neutral weeks than Neil did. Neil only had 3 red weeks. And week 19, something was going on that week, because the only week that Zan was in the red at -1, Neil was -3. So anyway, Total best picks, net best picks, 42 for Neil, 41 for Zan. The highest efficiency that went to Neil. He had 5 weeks with the highest efficiency in the league. And then myself and Victor had 3. And then I should mention that I was a distant third in the net best picks with 32. We managed, I basically did the top 3 of each. Highest points. So the highest points of the week. That one was a little different. It was a 3-way tie. Benji, Zan, and Eric. So that was split 3 ways. And then the average efficiency, this one was a little different as well. I was in the lead with 83% on the season. Zan at 81.9 and Labikas at 80.34. That was pretty insane because it went 83, 81.9, 80.34. Then Neil 80.23, Ferg's 80.19. And then the lowest was, everyone was pretty much in that that like 5% threshold. The lowest was Monte at 78.02, which is just less than 5% off of the best. So that was super fascinating. And it ended up that the coach of the year went to Zan. So $25 to Zan on that one. The GM of the year, which is just basically total points scored by the draft class, that ended up going to me. 2240.5 was the total. Second place was Zan. Was Labikas with 2,114 points in his draft class, and third was Benji with 1818, which is kind of surprising. I mean, given that he had Paolo such a good top pick, but that ended up being what got him $25 with having the rookie of the year, because no one had more points than Banchero this year, coming in at 1,286.5 points for Benji and Banchero there. The next highest, Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler, ladies and gentlemen. Labikas take about 1,155 points. Third best was Monte, 1,050 points in terms of individual players, rookie of the year candidates. So interesting to see how that fell in. Some other notables: Jaden Ivey, 1,027.5. Neil grabbing Jalen Williams, 1,003.5. Those were the only other people to break the 1,000 threshold mark. So that was how it broke out. That's the awards for the season. Couple other bits to get to here that I want to talk through with you guys. We're doing a few new things for the season. So we're realigning the divisions. So there's going to be a true East-West, similar to the NBA. We're going to have an Eastern Conference, Western Conference, and now there are enough of us in the Eastern Conference, so to speak, where with people living on the East Coast, that we actually can have a true Eastern Conference and a true Western Conference. So that's one small change. It's just kind of fun to have that going on. The bigger changes that we're talking about, and this is going to be all sent out in a voting form, but the first one is altering the scoring system a little bit. And I don't take this lightly at all. I think it's a really important thing to talk about, and I'm just going to run through it real quick. I'll put it into a voting form, and if we want to have any kind of talk about it, we can. Right now, we have a 0.5 for a point in terms of fantasy points. One point equals 0.5. Shifting that to 1 to 1. So 1 point equals 1 fantasy point. There's also a bonus for a 3-point shot, which, considering the volume of 3-point shots, we could consider either removing that bonus or keeping it in at 0.5. So a 3-point shot would be 3.5 under this scoring system. 3 points for the shot and then 0.5 for the 3. Right now, the rebounds and assists are higher. They're 1 to 1, but they count twice as much as a point does. So we're looking at taking 1 rebound and making that 1.5 points. Same for assists, and then steals and blocks at 2 to 1. So 2 points for a steal, 2 points for a block. Everything else would remain the same in our system. So that's one thing that we can consider. We can vote on it. Again, no decisions are made whatsoever. This is just something that we have talked about between Zan and I and said, okay, let's look at it. Let's see what the league thinks. So that's one thing to think about. Other things that have been considered, and I think these are more like things that unless there's a huge pushback on, I would like to make these changes. Number one is the playoffs starting 1 week earlier. It seems like in the NBA, they start shutting things down a little bit at the end. Rotations change, things change, and that's when we're in our playoff system. So I think if we can start, 1 week sooner, we should be able to avoid that as we get into the finals of our league. So we'll have a vote on that. Roster size and IR size is another thing to consider. Coming out of COVID, IR spots were a little bit more plentiful. I think we can reduce our injured reserve allocation by 1, and I think overall rosters by 1. This is something more or less just to have a little bit more out there. These will be voted on separately. So if we want to have 1 less IR slot, but we want to keep the roster sizes where they are, totally fine with that. If we want to have both of those things or none of those things, I think they're all a great thing to look at. So let's take a look at those. I'm going to be sending out a link that will be in addition to this pod hitting you guys at the same time. There's been one other thing that I thought was kind of fun that I threw out to Zan that I thought could be an interesting, just like fun thing. So the NBA playoff bracket challenge is another idea that I came up with, where we would all fill out playoff brackets for the NBA, and whoever wins the bracket would win a compensatory pick between the first and second round in our draft the next year. I think it's pretty fucking sick, but let's talk about it. We can vote on it. I think it would be super fun. And I think it would, after our season shuts down and the playoffs start, there be something on the line for the league. So that is really the big news and notes that I wanted to get through for you guys. So hopefully these are all things that make sense. So just to recap, we're realigning the divisions. We are considering changes to the scoring system that will be voted on and discussed. We can discuss ahead of time. If anyone has questions, please text me, email me, let me know what's up. If anyone hates this idea, let me know what's up. The scoring system is something that I feel like is a super important thing. We have teams that we've built, and everyone will be affected in different ways. I don't think anyone will be adversely affected any more than anyone else will, but I want to limit scoring changes to as little as possible, because I want there to be continuity in the scoring, and I want it to be long term. Other things I covered: 1 week earlier for the playoffs, reduction of the main roster by 1 potentially, and reduction of the IR by 1 potentially, and then the NBA bracket challenge, which I just talked about. So that will all go out in an email. Again, I wanted to say congrats to Jeff on his first ring. And with that said, I'm now going to get into the top 4 weighted lottery ball picks for our draft. There's 100 lottery balls going in. Ferguson, who's the 4th overall, 5 balls going in. Neil with 10 balls going in. Monte with 20 balls going in. And Victor with 65 balls going in. Okay, so here we go. We are getting our top 4 weighted in order. You see Victor here with the 65 lottery balls, Monte with the 20 lottery balls, Hindu with the 10 lottery balls. Ferguson, can he pull the upset here and land into the top 1 or 2 picks with 5 lottery balls? So here we go. I'm going to get into this. This is for our top 4. Let's go. All right, here we are, guys. Picking number 4 overall in our draft starting, well, whenever we decide to pick a date. Picking 4 in the future for the ASHOG draft, Ferguson, chalk. Okay, 5 lottery balls, he lands at 4. Here we go. Pick number 3, will this be Hindu or will he jump into the top 1 or 2? Monte, wow. So Neil losing out on number 1 last year has now ascended with his lottery balls into the top 2 picks. Monte can't be stoked about that, but here we go. Pick number 2, will it be a Hindu or will it be Victor? Hindu, big. So Victor is our number 1 pick. The 65 lottery balls hold. He doesn't get upset. Congrats to Victor on the lottery for what I'm sure will be. So that'll do it. We covered a lot here. We covered the off season, the winning for Poppy, the coach of the year, the GM of the year, the rookie of the year, the sixth man of the year, and our top 4 in the draft. Congrats to Victor on the webinar sweepstakes, and looking forward to hearing from you guys what you're looking forward to in the season, what you're excited about, what you like about the changes, what you don't like about the changes. Either way, excited to talk to you more. And I'll leave you with one more thing. If you have not gotten back to me on your team branding, I will be giving every one of you a buzz to talk through it. Trying to plan a little something special for everyone, and excited to talk more about that. So I'll be in touch on that. But we need a draft date, guys. We got to get that ironed out. That will also be going out to you. So I'm going to sign off. First pot of gold in the books for season 4. This is exciting. I can't wait to get more into it and see what happens in our draft and upcoming season. So talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.